Good morning, members, and to the viewing public who are watching today's budget hearing through our social media platform. The chair will now call to order our budget hearing today with the Department of Corrections. And at this time, with 9 members of the Standing Committee on Ways and Means present, we have duly established a quorum. So with that, at this time, do I hear a motion to adopt today's agenda? There is a motion to adopt today's agenda, and it has been seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We adopted our agenda. Moving along on our order of business, we are now on item 3, public comments. Are there any members of the public who wish to make comments? Seeing that there is no comments from the public, we move further down, and we are now on item 4, introduction and statement of the chair. And at this time, the chair would like to thank you, Commissioner Torres, and your team for coming before the Standing Committee on Ways and Means, and to have this open discussion with regards to your request and also the governor's proposal that was submitted our way. And with that, I want to recognize and introduce the Committee of the Ways and Means, starting by myself. I am Representative J.P. Sablon, Chair of the committee. To my left, we have Representative B.J. Atto, Vice Chair of the committee. And to his left, we have Representative Ralph Yumo. And to his left, we have Representative Vincent O'Don. To his left, we have Representative Roman Benaventi. And the other side of the chamber, we have Representative Joe Flores. And to his left, we have Representative Patrick San Nicolas. To his left, we have Representative Denita Yangtamay. And to her left, we have Leader Roy Ada. And to his left, we have Representative T.J. Manglonia. Assisting our committee this morning are our bureau staff, starting with our legal counsel, Joe Hallahan. We have our budget analysis, T.G. Rabago. We have our senior legislative assistant, Ms. Claire Sablon. We have our IT, Jonathan Diaz, and our sergeant-at-arms, Mr. Pete Toay. Also assisting our Ways and Means from the administration, we have Ms. Vicky Villagomez from OMB and her staff. So with that said, this time, Mr. Commissioner, I give you the floor for your open statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hafode, Zantero, Buenas, good morning. Honorable members of this House of Representatives, 24th Northern Marianas Commonwealth Legislature, esteemed members of the committee and honored guests. Before I begin, I want to go ahead and introduce my team. To my far right is Lieutenant Kitugwa, the Outreach Program. To his left is Officer Joanna Lozama. To her left is my Chief of Staff, Victoria de Leon Guerrero. And back on my far right is Captain Semen. Then I have lead from RSAT, Ms. Carmen Iba. To her left, Sergeant Kitugwa with the Special Investigative Services. To my left, Officer Monette. She assists with admin and finance. And to her left is our Director of Nursing, Ms. Lucelva Blue. And to her left is OMB Administrator, Ms. Vicky Villagomez. Good morning again, buenas. My journey into public service and a leader in law enforcement has always been driven by one core belief, that our strength lies in our people, our families, and our shared resolve to build a better tomorrow for all of us. My personal experience has shown me firsthand the importance of trust, integrity, and service. These principles guide us as we work together to build a Commonwealth rooted in hope and opportunity. I believe in a future where our children can look forward with confidence, knowing their future is secure because we have laid strong foundations today. I say all of this because it's about the future we want to craft for our Commonwealth, a future where prosperity is real, achievable, and inclusive, a future where every family, every worker, every child has the opportunity to thrive. That's the vision I want to share, one grounded in unity, hope, and active participation. I want to thank each of you all for embracing these principles by being innovative and forward-thinking as we move forward with hope and faith to making our Commonwealth a better place for all of our people, and a place where our brothers, sisters, sons, daughters come back home to live and contribute to a thriving, diversified economy. So help us God. As a commissioner of the Northern Mariana Islands Department of Corrections, I'm here with you all today with a profound commitment to continue to transform our correction system for the betterment of our community. This annual budget hearing provides us not only with an opportunity to discuss financial allocations for the upcoming year, but also to reflect on our goals and aspirations for how we can enhance the effectiveness and humanity of our correctional facilities, to include our adult correctional facility, our outreach facility, our parole division, Manhoban Care Center, our Rota detention facility, and Tinian detention facility. Our agency's mission must evolve to face the contemporary challenges of corrections, and it is imperative that we adopt a vision that is comprehensive and forward-thinking. Today, I propose a reevaluation of our mission to include several critical focus areas to drive meaningful change and achieve sustainable success. Firstly, we must commit ourselves to reducing recidivism. Our duty is not merely to confine, but to rehabilitate and reintegrate. This year, our department will initiate new programs tailored towards education, vocational training, and comprehensive reentry planning. By addressing the root causes that lead individuals back to incarceration, we enhance their chances for successful reentry into society, fostering safer communities for all. Developing performance measures that truly matter is crucial in building a transparent and accountable department. We will implement metrics that emphasize the quality of rehabilitation services and the well-being of both inmates and staff. By setting clear benchmarks and regularly reviewing our progress, we ensure our initiatives are impactful and aligned with our goals. A number of states have begun implementing the uniform performance measures developed by the Association of State Correctional Administrators, which has standardized the definitions of key performance measures. That'll be one of our goals. More innovative states are now using outgoing measures that judge the effect of policies on inmates in order to inform funding decisions. To make better use of technology systems, we will continue to invest in digital infrastructure that enhances operational efficiency and improves service delivery. Advanced data analytics can help us track inmate progress in real time, allocate resources optimally, and identify areas needing improvements. This shift towards modernization will allow us to focus resources where they are most needed, ultimately benefiting both staff and those in our care. We will rethink the money equation. Funding constraints are perennial challenges that we must navigate thoughtfully. We must rethink the money equation by seeking alternative forms of funding, such as grants and partnerships with local businesses and nonprofit organizations. State correction systems in the mainland are using a variety of new partnerships, including contracting with public university hospitals and other entities to provide cost-effective services, quality control oversight, and group purchasing arrangements. Additionally, developing collaborations with healthcare providers can help us cut down on medical costs without compromising the quality of care. These strategic partnerships will serve to alleviate fiscal pressures while maintaining high service standards. Holding my correctional leaders accountable is a non-negotiable. I will always focus people on performance. We will continue to implement a robust system of checks and balances to ensure managerial practices align with our mission and values. Accountability breeds responsibility, and with each leader empowered to act with integrity and diligence, we further our commitment to operational excellence. Investing in our officers through adequate pay on the front end is imperative. Our officers are the backbone of our institution, and it is only right that they are compensated fairly for their crucial role. Competitive salaries not only reward hardworking personnel, but also attract new talent dedicated to our cause. Improving employee morale without financial expenditure means creating a work environment that values respect, growth, and recognition. Initiatives such as monthly, quarterly, and yearly employee recognition, professional development workshops, mental health support, and career advancement opportunities can significantly uplift our workforce. A motivated employee is an effective employee, and their passion directly translates to better outcomes for our department. Lastly, developing new leaders is essential for the long-term success of our correction systems. By identifying and nurturing talent from within, we create a culture of innovation and sustainability. Structured mentorship programs and leadership training will equip our future leaders with the skills and confidence required to navigate the complexities of corrections management. These strategic initiatives present a compelling plan that is both meaningful and achievable. I am optimistic that by working together with all of you, we can transform our correction system into one that not only confines, but also uplifts and empowers. Let us all make history by investing in a system that reflects the values and strengths of our vibrant community. Thank you for your attention and support as we embark on this pivotal journey. I'm eager to hear your thoughts, questions, and ideas as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, and Jesus Mossy, Commissioner Torres, for your opening statement. Let me start with looking at your worksheet. I know that you have your department has submitted your budget request perhaps before April, and the administration had submitted their proposal on April 1st. So just looking at your worksheet, there are a lot of vacancies that are funded at $1. There are also vacancies that are fully funded that are still reflective, that are vacant. So maybe perhaps my question would be, from the time you have turned in your budget request to today, are some of these vacancy positions filled, and what are the efforts to have them filled?
Mr. Chairman, maybe I should have continued from my opening statement, but can I go into my slides and then I'll probably perhaps answer your question? I wasn't sure if there was a.
My apologies. I thought you said you're ready for a question. So yes, let's
My
proceed.
apologies.
Let's proceed with your
Okay.
presentation.
My apologies.
My apologies. Please
apologies.
proceed, Commissioner. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on top, we're going to be presenting a slide. So I've introduced my team, right? We're going to take a look at the budget overview, right? So the 2025 budget at 3.9. Our DOC request for 2026 is 9.6. Our governor's proposal is around 4 million. So what's not covered in here that I need everybody to realize is operations and utilities is not covered. This is why we have OMB Administrator, Ms. Vicky Villagomez, right? And also increase in personnel salaries for vacant positions. So as we move forward, so before I kind of get you guys going, I want to read this quote by Theodore Roosevelt. Okay, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no error without error and shortcoming. There is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. We are all the men and women in the arena, just like how you folks are all the men and women in the arena. I put this out here because I resonate with this deeply in everything that we're trying to do, right? With the shortcomings, the shortfalls, the limited funding. We're out there doing it, right? We're out there doing everything we can to come up with ideas, right, to move forward. So our mission. I'll talk a little bit about our mission. Our mission is to enhance public safety across the NMI through rehabilitation and operational excellence. Our vision, we kind of came up with this within the last year and a half, right? To give your entire spirit My staff, the men and women at DOC, have risen up with me to give their entire spirit to change, to make things better, to rehabilitate these inmates, right? And also, this can be also viewed from the inmates, right? To give their entire spirit to change for the better. So the principles that we have that are attached to this is always deliver a perfect effort, transform power and control, mentality and respect, rapport and engagement, modernize correctional practices and develop staff for meaningful performance. Be responsive, communicate effectively and responsibly, serve the public and residents, develop solutions that promote systemic wellness and deliver positive, effective outcomes. Center our work on transparency, accountability, and humanity. We've risen like a phoenix, and we're still making progress. We're becoming 1% better every day. Our RSAT, our Residential Substance Abuse Treatment Program. Our main partner with this is CJPA. We've hired a grants consultant in Esther Milne, who's helped us tremendously with our grants, with our RSAT. I also want to share with you folks a letter from the Bureau of Justice Technical Assistance Grant, Mr. Devon, an attorney who came out here from Virginia to provide us TTA. At this point, I believe we have accomplished our objectives together. You have all done an amazing job putting together an amazing program, and I've had the best experience being able to work with you to help bring the program to life. The dedication you have shown has been exceptional, and more importantly to me, the warmth and kindness you all have shown has made this one of the best experiences I've had in my career. Moving forward, I'm going to put together a final report that will build on the strategic plan that we developed earlier this year. The report will not include any future recommendations, but will be a historical reference to all the things that have been accomplished in the project. You will have a chance to review the report, but my goal is to highlight all of the work you've accomplished, so there will not be any surprises, just mostly flattery. I'm going to remove our scheduled meetings, but we can always move and meet as needed before the project is officially closed. Please keep in mind that the Bureau of Justice Administration is very encouraged and pleased with the work you've all done. Do not be surprised if they reach out for interviews or want to highlight the program in some other way. They are very pleased with what you have accomplished, and they should be. And just wanted to share that, okay? As we go into the RSAT, it was officially launched in May of 2025, right? The funds that were allocated was to set up the therapy rooms for facility preparation, right? Set up the therapy rooms, private partitions, group counseling. The staffing, we hired 3 federally funded staff by December of 2024. And the positions include our RSAT program lead, Ms. Carmen Iba, our RSAT program coordinator, and our RSAT program certified substance abuse counselor. So we got the numbers up there, and this is within the past few months. This is our team. These guys have been hitting the ground running from day one. They're the rock stars. This is our team in action. And now moving into the community outreach program. One thing I want to point out is the community outreach program has really embodied the vision of Nayanamu Zanashosho. They're always delivering perfect effort. I mean, you see all the work that they're doing. You're going to see the grandstand. That's a huge showpiece for them. And many other projects that they've done. I mean, there's just so many. You guys all see it. You guys see it on the news and social media. There's so many to list. Well, some of the other things that I want to also point out with the outreach program is they've consistently assisted the whole department with all our budgetary constraints. They've been helping, with building maintenance, cleanups, right? Whenever there's a typhoon that's forthcoming or that's incoming, they they get together, we do proactive debris removal, and if there is a typhoon, they've done a lot of road clearing and what have you. I mean, I'm trying to advocate for a bucket truck. If any of you want to give us a bucket truck, we'd love to have it. We'd be doing more work too as well. They've assisted sort. Lieutenant Kitugo has also acted for me as a commissioner. So anyway, I just want to show that they do a lot of strong work. We don't wait, we take action. Our community outreach program, right here, some of the numbers. We have 5 MOAs where we do grounds maintenance, trimming, what have you, renovations. We have like 14 plus community partners to include NMTech, SAR, DPS, DFEMS, Mayor's Office, you name it. A total revenue generated thus far, right there. It's a small number, but it's enough to sustain the program. Because if we didn't do this, I would have had to shut the program down, and darn if I was ever going to shut it down. So, here's more. I mean, our partnerships with NMTech, the effectiveness of the partnerships, 99% completed course with 0 recidivism. We're still early, but 0. And we want to keep that number at 0. It's just, the success rate is high, and we want to continue to expand on this. We're also looking at renovating the parole office into making that a training center in partnership with NMTech as well. So that's forthcoming. Hopefully if SNILD has a little bit of money, if they want to help us out, that'll be great. Some of the other work right here. On your left, the light blue is the before, and the right is the after. So these guys, again, this is being proactive, right? We're like, hey, we can't wait around for these FEMA funds. Let's take action. Let's get it done. So what we're doing is they've applied all the elastomeric there, and then when we get these solar panels, we're going to lay it out as extra padding and layer of roofing. We're going to cover that whole roof with solar. These guys are going in there and they're repairing the housing units, the cells, you name it. Okay, we're doing it, and it's saving us a lot of money. We're being creative, and they get to hone their skills. Right here, here's more. On the top left is is that the mayor's? That's the mayor's office, right, LT? Yeah, that's the mayor's, the Northern Islands Mayor Office. On the bottom left is them taking classes, and on the middle is the finished product for NEMO. And on the far right, this is a lot of the work that they've been doing. They've been cleaning, or they've been painting and beautification, right, over at the multi-purpose center, by the courts, all of that. We want to continue to build on that and expand on that. Big showpiece right here. I mean, I'd love to keep that there, but I don't know. We'll see what zoning says. So getting into grants. Yeah, let me switch gears here. LT, share with this honorable body about all the great and strong work that you folks have done.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Vice, and good morning, members. Lieutenant Kirigua, OIC for the outreach program. We started this program since 2016, and now we're 10 years and getting more and more advanced in our skills with commissioners, help in trying to support us more in the program side. As you guys can see, the outcome of all the stuff that we've been doing, not only the stage or whatnot, we've been going out in the community, cleaning up. Whenever other agency asks for an assistance, we're always there. We're only 18 manpower, but We move like a full dump truck, you know. We don't have the efficient equipment, but whatever equipment that we have, we try as much as possible to engage and accomplish what assistance that the other agency or community needs from us. So yeah, our commissioner is really striving to find other ways and needs to get our fundings. Maybe it's 15,000, but it's something for us to keep the program running, and for you guys' assistance on this budget, it can help us more and educate more of our inmates in the NMTech area. We have graduated 18 inmates in NMTech, and also all 18s are in the SAR program, also alcohol, drug and alcohol. So we have a lot of components in the outreach program that we are really working on, not just the work, but also the rehabilitation side of the inmates. That's the most important part of this. It's not just to help the community, but also to help the inmates transform to better themselves in the community and better themselves. And thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Victoria De Leon Guerrero, Chief of Staff for DOC. Besides just the stronger words of incarceration and rehabilitation, we're also in the business of second chances. The people that we serve are often the forgotten, but we invest our time and energy in ensuring that when they leave our facility, they leave with better skills, especially if they choose to better their lives. And that's why part of our call for support is also to call for support of our people, because they still are part of our community. And so these images are just, they're testimonies of the effectiveness, and then the success rate of having 0% of recidivism by participating in these types of rehabilitation programs. It shows that we are doing something right, but it also shows that we need further support. And we're going to get more into the ratios of our officers and inmates later on in our presentation, but it's just to add further comment that we're working on programs that are actually effective for our community. It's not just about what works in the states, our national partners, our regional partners, but it's what works for our community to ensure that they are productive citizens when they leave, our facility, especially if they choose to better their lives for themselves and their families. With that, again, this is just, it's only July, but this is our current flagship project. As you see, this is truly just the symbol of how effective this program is. To see it start from this, right? And in the last few months become this. We are grateful for the leadership of our outreach program officers led by Lieutenant Kitagwa, but we're also grateful and for the opportunity to showcase our community that when you take a leap of faith on people, especially that are choosing to better their lives, they can make something amazing like this structure. And that's where, in addition to that.
And to add to that structure right there, when we break that down, part of the deal is we're going to take it back. So we're going to take those materials and we're going to repair the beach road bridges. That's our next project. So we're going to break that down, and it's going to be to revitalize those bridges, those wooden broken bridges along the boardwalk of Beach Road. That's forthcoming. So those are the things that we're doing, right?
So our outreach participants are already engaging the community in a very productive and positive way. But again, it comes down to additional support to ensure that effective programs like this can run efficiently and effectively. But we're not just about, just our outreach programs. We also use other revenue generating, such as investing our efforts of grants. And that takes us to our next section. So with grants, it's our division is very new. We've, of course, as a organization have tried to maximize CJPA funding opportunities by applying for these trainings, opportunities or things that can help with our RSAT, for example. They're our grantor. So in our recent development, our organization has applied for 7 so far. And these are the federal funds awarded. I'm pretty sure this is one of the questions you were going to ask, so I wanted to give you the dollar figure right there. Again, these are just the funds awarded. There is more to come. A lot of our grants are still in pending and review. But through the grants, 3 positions have been created. So we only have 3 federally funded positions at the Department of Corrections. Of our grants, we have tried to expand our efforts to touch on infrastructure, because we know that there's, of course, in every year limited funding, but we're trying to maximize opportunity. So we have 4 infrastructure grants, 1 rehabilitation and counting, and then 1 capability and capacity grant for our personnel. And so here you'll see, and to my right is Officer Johanna Lizama. She assists majorly in the development and oversight of our grants division. I'm very grateful for her hard work, because I came in very recently, but to see all she's, made into fruition for our department has been astounding. So part of our efforts to address our utility costs, our big one is our solar installation at our facility. It is no secret that DOC has the highest utility usage in the CNMI, but we are trying to be proactive through phases. And so through 2 funding sources, through the through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we were allocated $1 million with funds yet to be awarded, and applications still under review. Again, it's already allocated. We're just waiting for the award. And then we were awarded through the Office of Insular Affairs $443,000 some dollars for furthering the cause. Knowing the track record for all grants in the CNMI, we might need more funds for our solar efforts, but our mentality and perspective is to work in phases. And so other grants division investments that we've made is our server. We want to maximize efficiency. The Department of Corrections does not have a jail management system. Everything is done manually, which increases the amount of time that our employees have to spend on either filing our papers manually or getting information out to our public as requested. And it's not just as requested, it's all of our other external partners like NMCL, the judiciary, DPS, so on and so forth, or the FBI, right? So for JAG 2023, invested in a server to upgrade our system to ensure that we have the capacity, again, to invest in our IT infrastructure and ensure that we have the ability to manage a jail management system in the first place, as well as just get us to a modern age of connectivity. We're working really hard on that. For JAG 2024, this is where we're enhancing officer retention and safety to support our officers. Officer Lizama, can you expand on JAG 2024, please? Yeah, well, so just to clarify, you can see at the status at the bottom, it's pending award, right? So these are applied for, but we are investing in training for our officers. Just a little bit.
I'll go ahead and add, for that enhancing officer retention safety training, we're pending that award. So the vision that we have is to obtain some more grant funding so I can send trainers to go to the mainland and become, or send them to training to become trainers, so they can come back and train my staff in basic fundamentals, mental health awareness, performance enhancement techniques, de-escalation techniques, use of force, law report writing, and proven offensive defensive tactics. This is like a holistic approach, right? That's the first phase. Where we get that money, we'll probably be able to send 2, but we like to send more.
So again, this investment is a matter of maximizing our personnel and their capabilities and capacity. We don't want to continuously use the taxpayer dollar on trainers when we can train our own people to manage those in-service opportunities in-house. Because more often than not, we have to pay a large sum just to get people, a large mass of people trained, like CPR, something as basic as CPR, right? But we've been fortunate that our government partners have been helpful, but we do want to be proactive and work internally so we don't have to continuously reach out for help when we can also help ourselves, right? The next. So additional grants, opportunities, again, funds awarded. We were awarded the FY 2023. That is the current funding source that is helping our RSAT program. And as you can see, they have kicked off the ground running, like Commissioner shared. They have already earned over 10 certifications. They have assisted over 18 participants and counting. And this is just in 2025 alone. We foresee a positive outcome out of this. Of course, rehabilitation is holistic, so we are only one aspect of rehabilitation, but we are doing our part as a government agency to help our community. Others include investing again in the next RSAT program, the RSAT program for further federal financial support, and then investing in the kitchen project. I'm pretty sure that you guys are also very excited about the kitchen project. It's currently under NEPA review, so it's all in. It's not in our hands right now, but we are doing our due diligence to follow up. Additional grant efforts. Again, investing in RSAT because we anticipate it will expand over time. And then this is where we're partnering with our law enforcement agencies like the judiciary, DPS, our FBI partners in a jail management system. We were allocated about $300,000 to invest in a jail management system. And the effort of CJIS, again, is to ensure that we can share information securely from within national standards. But enough said, we can move on to our medical unit. I would like to preface, before I hand it off, that our medical unit is one of our areas that we need reinforcement. There are a lot of areas that with the help of Nurse Blue, she has identified areas of improvement for our department, and we want to prioritize that effort. So, Nurse Blue, go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Yeah, my name is Lucelva Blue. I come to you from Colorado. Recently arrived to your beautiful island January, and I chose the DOC because I believe in the mission. Also broke my heart to hear that they haven't had a nurse for so long. I believe it is my responsibility to provide the opportunity to reform. Prison can be a place of healing, recovery, and forgiveness. Prison can help break the cycle of failure and misfortune or poor decisions, and having the resources to provide adequate medical is a necessity to break the chain. Self-care is step one. And in order to help our inmates succeed, the prison must have a strong medical team with the proper tools. Having been in the medical unit for the last 3 months, I see a desperate need for support. We need better trained staff, medical staff, frontline staff. I'm doing my best to train our officers that are so willingly come to the medical unit saying, Nurse Blue, train me, lead me, guide me. I will do what you say. I have successfully trained one of our officers to do our tuberculosis testing so that the inmates don't have to wait longer than they should to be released out of confinement or solitaire. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. So they can be in the general population quicker. So we can do that 7 days a week. Basic training, what do our vitals mean? What does a extremely high blood pressure mean? I provide training for the staff on a daily. We definitely need a better electronic system, a medical administration system to distribute the medications. Currently, we are paper charting, and it is less than adequate. A better way to distribute medications would also help with something called a Pyxis, which is a dispensing cabinet that helps keep medications safe and reduce errors when distributing. I'm doing training with the staff. I'm becoming a CPR instructor in August, so I can do first aid training with the staff, the officers as well. A lot of basic training. Also with help with the doctor, we've been able to get some emergency medicine like an epinephrine pen in case of a severe reaction. Trying to depend less on our hospital to support them. I do hear the cry from CHCC that they're a little overwhelmed at times, so hopefully we can do more in-house and lessen that burden that they take on. That is my goal.
I also want to point, I say this time and time again, it's having Nurse Blue is a blessing. I'm super grateful.
Happy to be
She's
here.
always in constant communication with CHCC. She actively engages with staff and inmates, and she's heavily involved in improving our medical unit and our overall improvement of our facility. So we're super grateful to have her here. She helps out the staff as well. I mean, we're even taking a look at a nicotine cessation class with CHCC, because as you all know, I mean, betel nut chewing is banned in my facility, and especially in the secured area. So rather than suspend staff for caught chewing, I'm going to give them an opportunity to attend the cessation class or the suspension. And then also open it up to people who are looking to try to quit, But yeah, just wanted to add that and point that out there.
So again, with the, to add on, with the medical unit, having Nurse Blue is an example, again, of us knowing what we need and the level of effectiveness of hiring highly qualified individuals that also have a vision for our department in line with the overall vision of DOC. And so in just she came on board in February, March, April. It's July. She has accomplished a lot within the last few months of her onboarding and has done an exponential amount of work to help us cut costs, be efficient with financial use, and also reduce any form of risk and mitigate that risk by doing everything in-house, which is the intent of the medical unit in the first place. And so it's been fun to see the numbers of ER visits go down since she's onboarded, because she has years, over a decade of experience in ER as an ER nurse. So she knows what is truly an emergency versus something that can definitely be seen by our internal doctor. We'll move on. So part of our other achievements is the tactical response training. We had a few officers, and including leadership, that completed this training along with other law enforcement, which shows our dedication to, again, investing in capability and capacity. This is specifically dedicated to our SORT team, our Special Operational Response team, to ensure that if anything were to happen, anything critical were to happen in the secured area, they are equipped to respond. Next. Investing in our personnel, again, through emergency hiring, because we were in dire need of it. Our officers were fleeting because of the level of work. I just need to share that when I came on board, we had officers only going home once out of the week. They really had very little time with their families. And so I know that our staff is greatly appreciative of our commissioner for taking the leap on going with an emergency hire for our DOC, for our 10th cycle academy that was completed in, I believe, March. Was it March or April? February. But we still need the support, and I will share why later. Our team will share why later. So again, out of this 10th cycle, we had about 25 applicants that made it through the selection process, and 17 that fully committed as sworn officers. We gained 3 female officers and 14, but again, we still need more, and I will tell you why later. In terms of infrastructure, capital improvement to increase security, part of our achievements with our partners at the CIP office under the leadership of Elizabeth Balaharia, we were able to continue the installation of a new HVAC system. This is our centralized air conditioning, which has also shown that through this investment, we've actually reduced our utility usage. So we are approaching it on multiple fronts to do our part as a department to save funds for the CNMI. We have successfully finished upgrading our fire alarm system, and we have the installation of new security cameras that improve security within our department and ensure that there are no wrongdoings, both among the staff or among the inmates. That's part of our reality. So I would like to also call Ms. Sergeant Liana Kitagwa from our Special Investigative Services. She handles critical cases internally and can expand more on our efforts at the SIS unit. Did I just press this? It's ready.
Morning. Sorry, kind of nervous. I usually behind the scenes. So maybe just an overall special investigation. Hello?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sorry. So Special Investigations Unit is actually a very unique unit. We don't only investigate employee misconduct. We actually look into inmate violations, crimes within the facility while they're incarcerated, and citizens complain. I'm so sorry, I'm real nervous.
No, you're great. You're doing great.
Besides that, it's also our duty to oversee policies, procedures. We need to either enforce it, for sure enforce it, amend it, or draft. So that's a big deal as part of our job. We also need to be mindful of our rules, regulations, OPM rules, regulations, Title VI, crime, any criminal offenses, and any federal regulations that apply to our facility. So we're very, very unique, and I think one of the things that I could say we're proud of is, as much as our numbers, we have a total of about 48 cases from 2024 up to 2025, but it only shows that we are trying our best to deter from contraband, from corruption, from anything within the facility. And we started off with 2 investigators. Now we have 3, but with the workload, sometimes it gets really, really overwhelming. So I think that's it. I'm sorry.
I want to share, and I also want to share and touch on highlight. Since Sergeant Kitugo has been the OIC in the shop, they've done a tremendous job. You folks have seen it on the news, right? Unfortunately, it's stuff like that happens. We were able to get a conviction with the partnership with the FBI. But the vision that I also want to share and impart with all of you is we want to be able to move forward so we can start conducting our own criminal investigations instead of relying on DPS to come in and do their work
When they're already short.
when they're already short as well, right? The vision I have is to get to train my SIS and maybe even to recruit other investigators to come into DOC and be the detectives, because that's going to set a huge accountability across the board with staff and inmates. It's faster response and resolution, better control and confidentiality, improved accountability and oversight, better understanding of institutional dynamics, cost savings and resource efficiency, reinforce institutional discipline, facilitate specialized training and customized skills. So that's the vision. So to be like, in a sense, a CIB in DOC, right? Because right now we got to call DPS. They come over, they conduct an investigation. Sometimes things are lost. Sometimes there's no response. Things don't happen, and I get it. There's other high priority things. So if we have our own criminal investigations unit where we can work with the AG's office, you'll have swifter, quicker convictions, right? Staff and inmates. So that's the vision, right?
And just to add, to our legislative body and to our public hearing, to our public listening in through the live stream, the SIS unit is also our way of showing accountability and trust in our department. We take accountability very, very, very crucially, and I'm very grateful as a former non-DOC employee to see the inner workings now of their efforts to ensure that we can build public trust in DOC has been very, very enlightening, and I'm just grateful as a citizen. So thank you, Sergeant, for your efforts. So we do want to continue on with our ongoing efforts at the Department of Corrections. We continue to maximize community partnerships. This is just a general list. I'm sure maybe there might be an agency or 2 missing. Please forgive us. There's only so many slides that we should bombard our legislative body with, but this is an example of our partners to aid in our strategic goals, including rehabilitation, safety and security, infrastructure expansion, and then enforcement and legal advisory to ensure that we're hitting a holistic approach in elevating our department for the betterment of our community. Utilities and savings. Again, I mentioned this recently. As part of our long-term goals, we're working towards phase 1 and 2 first. Phase 1 is to get to 17% lower on utility usage. So we're not sitting around. We are doing our work to ensure that we can get the solar panels installed and can help the CNMI government reduce expenses on DOC's utility usage. So again, we were granted about 1.4 million for this first initial effort. And we have communicated to our Congresswoman, King Hines, on our long-term efforts to ensure that we can help the CNMI's budgetary needs. Phase 2 will be to reach 30 to 50% of solar energy instead of the typical diesel that is costing the CNMI taxpayers so much money. So I can assure you there is work being done. The Division of Parole is one of our newer divisions at DOC.
To touch on Division of Parole, so we all know, right, parole was always an autonomous agency in our Commonwealth, flying under the radar with limited oversight. It's now a division of parole within the NMI DOC. So by separating operations from decision-making, there is now a clear line of accountability and oversight within the parole system. We can now promote transparency, enhance the overall integrity of the parole process, reduce the potential for conflicts of interest and corruption. So our goal is to enhance community corrections. So right now our parole division isn't as busy, but with the vision it'll probably be a little bit busier, and we're going to probably need a little bit more staff so we can maximize and that savings, right? And so that we can restore trust in the parole process. Mm-hmm. We do the organizations for the Board of Parole, but we don't make the decisions. I'm not involved. No, the division helps with setting it up, and then they just handle the decision making. Getting back to training and development.
Under training and development, again, we are trying to maximize all of our strategic goal efforts, and so part of it is renovating or converting the former parole office in building 1216 over to our own training facility. The reason why we want our own is not just because it sounds nice, it's a matter of safety and security. We've been so fortunate to have a great partnership with NMCL, but we do have inmates that cannot be within a certain distance with minors, right? And so this is a matter of us making an investment to ensure that, one, we can give them the opportunity to advance themselves as adults and professionals, right, while still meeting legal needs of safety and security. So that is part of our long-term, one of our goals, and it's in progress. Updating our policies and procedures, academic opportunities. This is something that our inmates have communicated to us they are interested in, because we have seen interest in both your traditional liberal arts route, earning their GED or an associate's degree through NMC, but also through NMTech with trades. As we shared before, we have a high interest rate with outreach because they get to not only gain the privilege of being outside, but to work hands-on. They are more tactical learners. So part of our efforts to ensure that we can provide educational opportunities is we recently met with the Vera Institute that assists with prison education development. It's called the Prison Education Program, and we aim to provide federal funds to help our inmates and our officers earn their college degrees. There are different avenues in which we can do this. We've already had 2 meetings with NMC to see how we can ensure student success support. And we've also already had our meetings and conversations with NMTech's long-term goal to ensure that they can also gain federal funds to take on our participants, but with their tuition covered, essentially, right? We've also invested in faith-based programming, giving our inmates the opportunity to focus more on spiritualistic rehabilitation because it's part of the holistic process, and invest and train the trainer, as we shared, special investigative services training, leadership development, something that is often underestimated within a lot of, not just law enforcement, but in general. You can be an expert on the ways and means that you do your job at the front line, but when you when you advance and elevate into a leadership position, there are different types of skills that you need to have. And so we are also making an effort to invest in our middle management to ensure that we are equipping our leaders with the ability to push programs and push morale, as well as expand the success and effectiveness of them. And then, again, also leaning on advancing in our medical training. So challenges and call for support. This is our favorite part. Call for support, everybody. So we're titling this DOC's Reality. Not many people, including myself, before I came on board, understood what the real reality of DOC is. And so here's we're gonna give you a snapshot. It costs about $139,000 a month in utilities, but we're trying to tackle that. We have often encountered only one bidder for our food contract, which costs about $50,000 a month. For medical care, now that we're being billed for medications, it is increasing the dollar amount for our medical services at the Department of Corrections. While we are on the lower front of overtime usage and we're not budgeted for it, it will also, having short manpower guarantees overtime needs. And of 159 positions 159 positions, only 105 have been filled. Now that sounds like a large number, but we're gonna paint the picture for you. And then on top of that, it broke my heart coming onto DOC to find out for years, our officers have not been given the opportunity or the funding to gain simple gears, uniforms, or equipment after dedicated service for decades. We have many officers that have been with DOC for more than 10 years and have not been given the funds to invest in uniform or gear especially part of it is increasing morale. And it's very discouraging for our officers to invest so much of their lives and their efforts and their time away from their families and not have the ability to even give them new uniforms. So, in the medical unit, again, we're being transparent with our public. The medical unit is one of our areas in our department that we need to focus resources because it will help reduce costs and expenses by investing in the medical unit. This includes trained medical staff, updated policies and procedures that reflect the needs of DOC today, resources and supplies, an EMR system, which is basically an electronic records and retention system, Pyxis, which is where please, nurse, I'm listening, but I'm trying my best. Pyxis is a way to help disseminate medications.
Correct.
In a more secured and internal way.
It's safer for the patient and for the person distributing the med.
There you go. And while we can't afford 5 nurses, even though that would be a dream, right? And we don't have to touch the shift, we often have to. And so we have to do that internal training among our officers to ensure that our inmates are getting the appropriate medication they need. Today, we have 170 inmates in our facility. 90 of them need daily medications, which automatically take away officers from the shift because they have to assist with the medical unit. And so we're giving you a snapshot. We're being transparent with our public. Our manpower, we need it. It fluctuates, thankfully not as drastically as 2022, but as of July 3rd, 2025, we have only 105 employees with 91 that are sworn. That means that these individuals can go into the secured unit without an escort. I can't go to the secured area without an escort. These are the people at the back that are actually at the front line assisting with the needs of our inmates. And to my right includes Captain Marvin Semin, Sergeant Liana Kitagwa, and Lieutenant Jeff Kitagwa that are going to also help me paint this picture. For the FTEs under each of these accounts, there's a total of 159 positions with only 105 filled, with 54 vacant, it goes back to your question, Chairman, but only 22 that are budgeted. We have full intentions to fill these vacant positions because we need them, and this is why. In our operations, pay attention to the table where it is blocked. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. These are where our officers are dealing with our inmates at the front line. And so I'm going to turn to them to provide further information. If you want.
Oh.
Good?
Okay. I don't know if he wants to start.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we're broken down in 3 shifts, which is Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. And that would be the daily, the night shift, and then the broken, day and night. And that's the amount of manpower we have now for each shift. And then it's also broken down by different sections in order for us to function and operate. That's the administration part, classifications, commissary, you can see it. It's a whole breakdown in order for us to fully operate. Not just manpower in the shift, it's a whole operation.
So while that 105 sounds impressive, it sounds like we have enough people. When it comes to actually dealing with the administrative aspects of our facility, the needs of our facility, a lot of them have to be also delegated to the administrative component, not just the secured area, like not just Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. And so on top of that, while our outreach program is very successful and we do not want to hinder their progress because it's good for the department and it's good for our community, it does take the ratio 1 officer to 5 inmates. Every 5 inmates, we require an officer at that location, which means that there are more personnel taken from the secured area. And then any time that our inmates have to go to a medical clinic, they have to go to court, that requires 2 officers to ensure that there's safety and security during that escort. Because there are policies and procedures and ways that they have to escort those inmates to their designated location, right? But I'm a very visual person, and maybe so are you, right? So we're showing you the breakdown of our personnel and how we maximize. Each division has very few numbers, but the front lobby and the front lobby sounds like a large number, but a lot of them are light duty for medical needs, and we need to respect that. But I'm a visual person, so we created this breakdown for you. There are 4 pods: pod 1, pod 2, pod 3, and pod 4. We're going to pay attention to pod 1, 2, and 4 because they're currently occupied. Pod 3 is under renovation. So those in green, those are the current pods that have inmates. And the reality is the number of officers that are assigned to that pod. So before I let it go to our leadership on the right, for pod 1, to see sections B, C, and F, there is currently only 1 officer. That ratio is not good, right? The mini control, they oversee from the middle area of our secured area, but there's only 1 officer within the pod. So there's only 2. That rate, and then under the population of pod 1, there's 21 inmates. So that means there are 2 officers assigned to 21 inmates. That is a risk and liability for the CNMI government, right? And so, would you like to add?
So if you guys, good morning everyone. First of all, my name is Captain Marvin Seman. So as Ms. Dilon Guerrero was just giving us a breakdown, just pod 1, that's just the female section, okay? And again, the reality is, as you guys can see, it's 2 officers. So basically it's one control officer and 1 wing officer. That wing officer goes to those green highlight section that are being occupied by detainees or inmate. And then depending now if that inmate has some type of high risk, that officer now has to be more vigilant into how to control things. You know? And then just think of it, these are female officers, and then night shift come and they need to transport a female. Then now what? You know, that's where everyone, even me, my Christmas was bad because I am home, but then my phone is ringing because they needed a transport of female, but they were short of female. But we still have to try and accommodate it, because if not, then we're going to be facing some legal action of denying medical needs. No?
Can I also add in the mini control officer?
To the microphone.
The mini control officer doesn't have the ability to go in and assist the 1 officer because they have to main the computer. So it's really more than just seeing that number. The mini control has to make sure they're in the mini control area. They're not able to enter the section to assist officer, they would need to ask for a backup if they need assistance.
So since we're in this slide of the presentation, because officers versus inmates, right? And I think the terminology was consent degree. Are we still in line with it, or are we violating the consent degree?
So
Sir,
Like
I'm
per-
really
like per officer per inmate, right? Is what
Yeah.
it means, right?
Man, I'm sorry to say that, but I think we're getting there. That soon we might be on that, looking at that consent decree if we don't,
Invest in personnel.
Yes.
So by policy, we need to have direct supervision, which means we should have one officer for every section.
Okay,
That's
I
not
think
really
that's,
what-
and that's why my question was, we need to make extra efforts to fill those vacancies, right? So
Yes.
that we're not in violation.
Yes.
Okay, you guys may proceed, yeah.
100%. And also, you're gonna see. I'm gonna give you a figure. You're gonna see a number soon. But at the top, during every shift, there are 2 commanders, 2 main control, and 2 booking. Those are non-negotiable. They cannot leave those posts. So if you're asking, if you see the in the next slide or the next few slides, you're gonna see 15. That sounds like a big number. It's not, because they are intentionally posted in essential areas of the department during each shift. I can go on to, so pod 2 are outreach, right? Is that correct? Outreach.
Almost all the assignments.
Yeah, all the assignments. So these are the inmates that are furthering themselves through their technical experience and capabilities. Boop. And then pod 4. The one highlighted in red are our maximum security, just for your notice. But again, look at that ratio. 3 to 55. And that's Gen Pop. Right? That ratio is not okay. This is why we're being transparent with our legislative body and our public that we need the support for personnel. We need to be able to also support our officers to just go home to their families when they're scheduled to, right? Because essentially this front line is ensuring overtime no matter what, right? To add, Lieutenant?
Just to elaborate more on the pots, our component in the facility is 4 pots. For each pots, there's 5 sections. And out of those 5 sections, there's inmates and detainees that are cells in their sections. So for each section, you have to have 1 officer, and also for each section, they have it's called policy and procedure to follow. So if post orders. So one officer is posted in section, and if you don't have that 1 officer posted in that section, then we're not in comply with the post order that is posted in that section.
So, as Lieutenant Kituga was mentioning, with the post order, so just recently, imagine with the manpower that we have, but then when an inmate or detainee is on suicidal watch, now that changes a lot of our manpower, because now that 1 manpower that's handling 2 to 3 section has to only really focus on that certain inmate. And then now every 15 minutes they must do routine check, but because there's a suicidal watch, now it becomes 10 minutes. So that 1 officer is, the stress is high. And statistics talking, DOC has a high rate of PTSD, and that's nationwide. It's just because of the manpower issue, and of course everything falls into play, from the stress level of the inmates, and then it goes, personal issues that they don't go home to their family, and then they give them a choice, either me or them, and then of course they're gonna have to resign. Now we're back to square one again, 1 manpower down again.
And to add to that, and this is, we've done an okay job in controlling the overtime. There's always going to be overtime, right? You have a clear picture. My staff painted that picture for you folks. Now overtime, factor in overtime, factor in annual leave, factor in military leave, right? Factor in sick, right? Factor in these other emergencies. burnout is real. And my number one resource is my staff, right? They're my number one resource. Not the technology, not the program, my staff. I need everybody to know that. So now you have a clear picture, and this is why we need more manpower.
Can I just point out one thing for the escort and sort? So our sort just finished their training, but due to shortage of manpower, it's hard for them to now be able to assist with response because they also cover escort. So half the time, majority of them is out conducting escort. So we still have to utilize the manpower we have, whether in admin or in the shift, to assist when we need a response. So that takes away their
Actual intended duties.
Yeah.
So I know we just finished graduate 10 cycle, right? I mean, almost everyone, you guys should have that manpower, but there now, as you guys can see, we're still, in need of manpower based on how we can operate. With what's going on, we all know what's going on in the U.S. So we have numerous of staff that are serving in the military. So already they're leaving as deployment. So now with the per shift, it's at max 16 manpower. But if you look at it, it's actually less in the wing because that's 16. That's including the commander. So minus the supervisor, minus the control officer, minus the booking officer. We don't even have staff for Manhoven. We need to do overtime to cover the Manhoven Center, which needs 2 staff at all times. So then, like the commissioner said, then minus the sick leave, annual leave, and there we got. Soon our number is gonna go higher because now we got the rates of the ICE, federal detainees that are coming in for deportation. So now, if you guys can see, there's 10 ICE detainees just waiting for deported, but the numbers are getting there. According to our classification, we're gonna be expecting a lot more. So, we're crossing our finger, but we're trying our best to, make our operation run. But that's why we're all here asking you guys assistance to help us with the budget.
And just for this figure, the reason why we would need 3 for the Manhoven, even though the population is so small, is in the event that there's a female juvenile. You need to have a female officer. And we still have fewer amounts of female officers compared to male, right? So, is there anything else? So this, again, in terms of the staffing reality, for each shift in the secured area, there's only about 14 to 16 officers assigned daily when 35 is needed in the secured area. We are working with what we have, but we need help. The overtime is essentially guaranteed to ensure somewhat of full coverage, but investing in manpower ensures operational continuity and safety. Right? So that's why we wanted to take this time to paint the picture, because 105 sounds like a lot, but if you actually look at our breakdown for assignments, we have very few personnel that are actually in the administrative duties. We don't just put people there because they feel like it, right? We put all of the people capable of ensuring they can push programs and activities forward and successfully. But again, we need more people in the secured area. So, and this is why we're calling for the next 11th cycle academy. We just graduated our 10th, right? We have about 17 CO1 positions that we can fill, and we want to fill them. We need to fill them because we also want to support our revenue generating efforts. We are not sitting around like hopeless ducks in a pond. We are trying to be creative. So as successful as our community outreach program is, it only generates about 15,000 to date so far, right? It would be more of a liability if we made our outreach do more, which we shouldn't, and we don't want to. But we are trying to maximize grants, and we are trying to increase the amount it costs for federal inmates to ensure that we can generate that revenue in, because we do get revenue from housing federal inmates, and this is where it leads us to our bigger goal, which is the interjurisdictional compact agreement. The cost of one inmate in the CNMI per year is about $43,000. One inmate. We have 170, right? The salary of a correctional officer one is about 21,000. It costs more to house one inmate than it does to pay an officer, a CO1 officer. And I know that those salaries are lowered because overtime is expected, but we shouldn't be leaning on, oh, let's just give them overtime. No, let's get them home to their families. Let's support them so that they have the work-life balance, right? Because they're worth it. Now, if we were to gain about 100 inmates through the interjurisdictional compact agreement, we can accumulate about 4.3 million in revenue. But we need the manpower to make it happen, right? The federal government needs our help with these ICE detainees, so we need more manpower. We want to generate revenue through Guam inmates, so we need more manpower, right? But this is where it's a balance. We can't achieve this if we don't have the manpower. And even if you don't support us with the manpower, you're putting also our department at risk of liability, right? But we're doing our part. Our whole story here today, ladies and gentlemen, is to show you that we're doing the work. We're maximizing our resources. We're maximizing our partnerships. But if we don't get the support to conduct operations effectively, there is more risk, and we could be at risk of the federal mandate, right? The consent decree. So we're appealing to you all for this support, and we come back again to the budget overview. We were only approved 3.9 for 2025. We've requested 9 million. I'm sure we won't get that, but we're asking because we want to communicate. We know what we want, right? And then with our governor's proposal, there's 4 million. And at least with the governor's proposal, what we appreciate is he also sees the worthy investment in manpower, because we will do the work. We just need the help, right? And so with that, legislative support outcomes. If you support our effort, our call for request, by investing in salaries and operations, this reduces risks and long-term costs. There are fewer costly incidents and lawsuits. Reduced overtime at the taxpayer's expense and emergency response needs, a safer facility, increased morale, reduced staff turnover, and also family and constituent support. We are speaking for our officers that are at the facility right now, doing the hard work at the front line to help them spend the simple right of being a person outside of their call for duty, right? And so, boss, would you like to add anything else?
No, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is my team. You heard it from the boots on the ground, the people who are in there, right? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of them, right? It's about them. It's not about me. It's about them. And it's about the community and our people. With that, we're open to questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Torres and your team. And before we move further with open discussion with questions and answers, let me recognize that Representative Malcolm Omar is also a member of the Ways and Means, who is with us also this morning. But before we enter into more questions and answers, let's have a short 5-minute break, recess. Good morning again, members, and we are back on our budget hearing session. And before we went into a short recess, the Department of Correction had just completed their presentation. So at this time, we will start with our questions and answers and begin this open discussion. So Commissioner, let me start with the very last, perhaps, clip before you concluded your presentation. I see that there is that fee, right, per day, per inmate is, I see that bottom number at 120, and what you get from federal inmate through contract is at 85 per day. Why, can you explain why the variance between the
Sure.
cost of inmate per day on our local level, perhaps is what it meant there? Versus
Yes.
the federal 85 per, how come the federal cannot meet the 120 per day?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that question. We are in the process of applying. We have to get into a portal. It's called LEAP. My chief of staff is charged with getting into that portal. We've been trying this from the last couple of years. We need to get in that portal, and we need to be able to, so we can renegotiate the number, because as you can see, it's a low number. And then one of the blockers in the first times that we were attempting to get into LEAP is the continuing resolution with U.S. Congress, right?
Okay.
So that was a blocker. Now
Okay.
I made it a high priority because I'm like, this is too long, we need to get in there. So
Right.
we're reaching out to the marshals, we're reaching out to some of our federal partners, and we need to bump that number up. Because for detaining ICE inmates in the mainland is about I'm hearing of $150 per day.
Right.
So yes, that number is low. It needs to be renegotiated for a number that's close to 120, 110. I put that 120 number there per day because if we were that's a preferred number if we were to like meet at the table with Guam and negotiate the rate.
Right.
If this compact were to go through, Guam has one as well. We'll be at the table. And again, I want to make it clear that I'm not going to do this if Guam tries to lowball, I walk away, right? I'm not going to. It has to make financial sense as well for our Commonwealth. So 120 is a nice number. I'm sure they're probably going to go low a little bit, but as you can see, 120 for 40, that's 43,800 minus maybe a little bit, right, for food. It's not going to incur added utilities, that's for sure. We're going to continue to pay 140,000 a month, whether we have 500 inmates or 2 inmates. Right. So a little bit for food and a little bit for water, and then maybe some line items for like if they have to go to the ER. But again, the whole amount will be paid by Guam if we were to go into this, whether it's transportation. And again, I said this time and time again, if their health care elevates, say they came, I'm getting them on the plane to go back to Guam so they can go and get their medical care while in Guam, right?
Okay.
Go ahead.
And we haven't had a chance to meet with you all about the compact agreement yet. But really, for the compact agreement, we coordinate this. We can say no. We can control how many inmates from Guam come to the CNMI, and we choose who with strict boundaries and eligibility requirements for them to come to the CNMI. So there's a demand and supply, right, in terms of what Guam needs. They have overcrowding, right? But with this compact agreement, we'll be able to help them reduce their overcrowding, but we'll also be able to generate revenue.
And also, say even if we weren't to even house any Guam inmates, having this compact as a tool is great because that it'll save on our expenses when we take inmates to Guam for medical referral. Mm-hmm. We can line item a set number for when our 2 staff will take 1 inmate to Guam, hand them over to the DOC, and then we'll pay for maybe overtime a little bit in there rather than paying for a room and board for our staff, all that per diem and all of that, right? I mean, at a fraction of the cost. So having this compact as a tool is great. It's going to save, at the end of the day, the CNMI taxpayer, and that's what we're aiming.
And
right?
it doesn't put us in a position to be required to take in Guam inmates. We can accept as many as we deem we can handle, right? So we set the parameters as well.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for that response. And let me shift to utilities. I know that currently, the current budget of 2025, you guys were budgeted 0 for utilities. So I'm assuming that it's the administration that's paying for your utilities, or is it your department? And if it is your department, what source of funding are you using?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we submitted to the Secretary of Finance, and the Secretary of Finance
Pays
Pays the
for your
utilities.
utilities. Okay, thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for that clarification. And then we're very grateful to see that there are efforts with grants to perhaps go solar with the facility itself. Have you guys got awarded already with those grants? And when are we looking at?
Yes. So as I shared in our previous slides over here, status, we did share status. So for our solar, we have the 1 million is pending.
Okay.
But again, it's already allocated, so we're not competing for it. It's for the CNMI. We were awarded the 400,000 to help with the 1.4 for the solar effort. We were awarded for the server system to help with our JMS investment, jail management system investment. And then we're pending award for JAG 2024, which is the training. Funds were awarded for RSAT, which is our current efforts right now. We've applied for 2024. It's under review, and then we're waiting for review for the NEPA for our kitchen. So more than half is under review, but we've also been awarded some funds.
Okay, so when we use the word pending, can we fairly say that maybe perhaps before the end of this year, we should be getting awarded, or are we looking at
That's the
perhaps
hope.
early next year?
That's the hope. It comes down to, because the RSAT is also through CJPA. So it comes down to that review process to allocate or to award us the funds.
Okay.
But we've already submitted our application.
I want to point out also that I know Victoria shared a little bit about the vision of establishing our grants division, right?
Right.
We would like to have a little bit more staff in there. Right now, we just have Joanna and V. Since V came on board, I tasked her with, hey, I need you to oversee this. I need these things to go through. There were delays, there were gaps. So having V on top of that is driving the mission forward, her and Joanna. And then eventually we would love to expand on there's a lot of money left on the table with grants, with corrections, right? But then I don't really have the admin staff to go out there and actively look. But we're doing our best with what we have.
Okay,
And,
but for now, you guys are being assisted and funneled through the OGM office, is that right?
They are assisting us. So, for example, for our solar, they are assisting us with the Office of Insular Affairs for the 400 some.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
providing assistance.
All right.
We're also waiting on some vehicles that they say we're going to be coming over. We're still waiting on that. Because, again, our fleet, we need a fleet.
Right.
I don't know what happened in the last administration with ARPA money. I don't know. That's a whole nother story. But we were left out, right? We have vehicles that are like out of commission, but we're still running them, right? I'm driving a loaner. I'm driving a truck. I don't need a brand new car. I'd rather take that and pay for a grants consultant. So anyway.
Right. Okay, thank you for that response. And let me recognize Representative Vincent Odon on more follow-up questions on utilities. No, we recognize.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners and your team for being here this morning. So, I mean, just a rough calculation, that's, 140,000 a month. That equates to like 101.7 million a year. That, when you guys are doing you guys already started doing your implementation of the solar and all of that stuff, or you're in the process of?
We're in the process. So again, we're waiting for the 1 million that was allocated to us. It just needs to be dispersed to the CNMI government so that we can move forward. But again, OGM is assisting us with advertising for a contractor for this. So we're having, a company handle the installation and rather than taking from our staff.
Right.
But there's
the-
efforts.
Right. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that, before we start purchasing or, installing all of these, state-of-the-art equipment, that, DOC actually contracted an energy auditor to look at exactly what is it that you need, because these systems are not, plug-and-play system. Every building is different, and it
Yes.
has to be customized according to the needs of the building.
Yes.
So I hope that we're doing this, like one step at a time, and A, B, C, not A and then J and then back to B and then
Yeah.
over to Z, whatever. It has to be done meticulously in order for it to work correctly, so that you guys are not either over or under, utility supplies. Because this 1.7 million is a lot of money.
Yes.
And that could go to something else, that you're training and gear. But if the only way to do this thing right is to, start at the very basic, get your auditor to come in and actually conduct an energy audit, so that it'll be done right, so you're not wasting a lot of time and money and it all falls apart. And then that would be the only way that this thing is going to work, to be able
Yes.
to you guys to save that amount of money. And the technology that they have nowadays is far beyond, what was capable 10 years ago. So you don't need a whole big footprint, and you don't need to spend so much money anymore compared to the way it cost 10 years ago. So I really do hope that you guys do this right. And I'm pretty sure that the department or the Division of Energy with DPW can assist you guys with that. Working together and with all the other government agencies that are actually supposed to have these expertise together with CUC, so that it doesn't burden or doesn't waste your funding. Just a suggestion, just a thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that feedback, Congressman.
Yeah.
Energy auditor. We're going to be on top of that.
Yeah, we have great relationships with CIP as well as grants management, and they're both advising us to ensure that there's engineering and design for the solar, to make sure that we maximize our time, our use of those funds. And again, what's great about technology is that it's always advancing. And so our hopes is that we might not have the ability to install the initial amount of solar panels, but maybe by the time we have the solar panels installed, they're stronger and they're better, right? And they can handle the more than 17% of the load of our utilities. But this is just phase one.
Right.
But thank you. It's a great suggestion, and we're fully on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that response. And so let me shift now with your, based on your presentation, I know that there was food costs, right, per inmate. And what is the status of the kitchen there in the facility? And if that's actually up and running, would we be saving supposedly, rather than catering or paying a catering facility for meals for the inmates? So my question is, what's the status of the kitchen, and are we making efforts to kind of get that up and running so that we can save perhaps more funds as opposed to continue contract with catering businesses?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So at this current point in time, our grant is, our awarded grant is under NEPA review, because again, there are some changes or renovations we need to make to the kitchen to make it fully functional, right? So that's one aspect of it. In terms of providing the food, we are, in the works of, we have a land through, in Cagman, but we're trying to explore more options for public lands that we can do farming, because we can also partner with NMC for the farming aspect, and we can partner with NM Tech for the cooking aspect. So we're trying to tackle multiple things for one goal. Will it save the CNMI more money? Yes, it will, because again, we're spending thousands of dollars for one contract over in basically creating the food in our facility and not having to hire more people. We just advance skills within our inmates and have someone oversee.
So
Thank
that's
you.
also going to hit the rehabilitation piece, right? Inmates are going to learn how to cook, serve. you know, we're just waiting for the NEPA review. We're
We've been
waiting. We're
following up.
waiting up. I mean, there's a mandate where we want to get this done. I set a goal of this end of this year. It's looking more like quarter 2 or 3 of next year. I have to be realistic, right?
Right.
But yes, having a catering, it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, I'll even share. I mean, I think our schools should start cooking their own food. You know, I think we're going to take the lead, and we need to do it. Yeah, I mean, without getting into the weeds of that, it should have been done when the prison was open.
Right.
First, when it's open, not having a catering company, right?
Right.
They should have got it up and running, and everything was working when it opened. So that's beyond me. But yeah, we talked about this. I've touched on this. It's the 3rd time we're touching on this. But yeah, we're on it, and we're on top of it.
Thank you for that response, Commissioner, and we're glad that you guys are still on top of that, proposed project moving forward in the future. So let me switch and talk about the medical expenditures with inmates. So it seems like it varies from 409K to 616K based on your presentation. So what source of funding are you using to cope these medical expenses? And are the inmates, are they qualified to get Medicaid or?
So there are goals. So to first answer your question, this is a federal law. So inmates do not have Medicaid until they're admitted into the ER for more than 24 hours, which means if they're not admitted, then that is essentially a full bill for whatever medical needs that they have.
Okay.
We are working with the Commonwealth Medicaid Agency to initiate a 1115 waiver. We're still trying to explore how we can maximize that opportunity to provide coverage for our inmates, but part of it is also exploring different creative solutions varying parole opportunities. So it's still in the works. It's still in its green preliminary stages, but we're trying to ensure that one, if there are inmates that don't need to actually be in the facility and are eligible for parole, they would immediately be qualified for Medicaid, right? And that takes away from our department expense.
From your department?
Yes.
But it has to be 24 hours
24 hours.
in the hospital in order for that Medicaid services to be
kick in.
provided, to kick in. Okay.
Yeah, and it was only recent that we've started to be billed for medications, and they're at the full amount. So, but again, we're trying to be creative.
I can touch on the
Oh, no, go ahead.
pharmacy bill. From January through May, we paid $85,527 just for medications alone. And that's not including our over-the-counter medications. So it's substantial what we're paying right now.
Yeah.
Right.
We are again exploring creative solutions to see if, it's either to our understanding in Guam, the hospital handles the medical services of the inmates, right? Maybe it works for them. We need to see if that's an option that could work for the CNMI. We're not sure. Or do we explore private clinics that are willing to partner with us with certain negotiations in place to also reduce the taxpayer dollars? So that we are being creative. It's just we don't want to make promises that we can't keep right now because we're still in negotiation and talks.
We're exploring.
Yes.
We're exploring. We're having conversations.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We're trying to find ways to provide medical care the way we should be providing.
So there's 2 ways that we've been exploring. One is through is it private company or the private clinic to offer support and partnership, but they're they would need a budget from the DOC, or to strengthen our relationship with the hospital in a manner that we are not depleting their resources. So, for example, I've been working on a MOU to do phlebotomy in-house. I can draw up blood in-house versus transferring the inmates back and forth and exposing them to that. We can do blood work at the DOC and just send the blood work at the end of the day. So things like that we're exploring to try and minimize our expenditures and how often the inmates are being transferred back and forth.
Thank you for that response. Let me recognize the vice for a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner, and to your team, thank you for joining us this morning. Just a follow-up, regarding the medical assistance to the DOC. Are there any veterans that are currently incarcerated?
I think we have a few. Do we have any? We have any few? I think we have a few. I don't know the exact number. I need to get with my classification.
I'm just saying maybe something to consider to start from there first, because we already have a private clinic here under Dr. Ada's office that provides VA assistance, right? Maybe we can start by using the vets that are actually incarcerated as I don't want to say guinea pigs, but it'll be a good option because the VA already offers that opportunity through Dr. Ada's office, and then we can build on that, whether it's Dr. Ada's office or not, but at least Dr. Ada's office already provides to the VA extension through Dr. Ada's office. Maybe something. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Apologies. Do you know if the VA benefits are continued to be covered even if they're imprisoned?
I'm not sure, but that's an option that if we're exploring right now, right?
We can explore, yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's take this opportunity to try to use that as a stepping stone. And if it
Absolutely.
works out, then we can head to what Ms. Guerrero had mentioned with the 1115 through the Medicaid office over here in the CNMI, and I do understand that the Department of Health is working closely with Medicaid, but they need the hospital's numbers, and if we can write using the hospital's data to include DOC's data, maybe that would be an opportunity to open up the 1115 for the usage of DOC and zero cost to the central government. And maybe at the end of the day, you can technically work with the hospital, create some sort of universal health insurance within DOC and the hospital. If we get to that point first, but
Yes.
we need to see if that door opens for the vets that are incarcerated. If that door does open, then the 1115 would be so much easier to work with down the road with the hospital. But data is very important for us to keep.
Thank you for that.
So with that, I yield my
for that.
time. Thank you.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Thank you, Vice. And then let's just kind of switch over to overtime. It seems, Commissioner, that on an annual basis, we're roughly like hitting the 1 million, over 1 million in overtime. Is that correct?
Sir, I believe it's a lot less than that. I think it's about 300,000.
Okay.
That's the wrong agency.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And then just one more before I open up to the rest of the members. Ms. V, I see that there's like just a couple of perhaps tens of thousands, right, of variants with regards to fringe benefits supposed to their request. So I'm not too sure if a lot of your officers are there's an increase versus the governor's proposal of FICA contributions. The governor had proposed 217,000, and department's request is at 275. So I'm not too sure that kind of gap on variance, Ms. V. Maybe some of them DOC officers are not in. I think this is mandated, right, FICA? Can you just kind of expound more?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chairman, for that question. So the calculation on the FICA is 6.20 of the total wages and salaries under the governor's proposal.
So clarified. Okay, thank you. And with that, I open up the floor for any of the members who wishes to have. Let me recognize Leader Roy Ada.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner and your team. Thank you for coming. You gave such a compelling presentation. Thank you for that. Most of the questions that I had were either already presented to us and was asked by our chairman and our vice chair. One of the things that in the medical side that you spoke about is the phlebotomy. Has there been any talk with Department of Labor as to utilizing their WIOA program? They provide training for these kind of things, just as long as the agency or whatever organization is providing these medical certifications are approved service providers. The reason why I say this is because I used to provide training services in the past, and I provided it for the hospital too. And that's something that your team can actually look at as to ways to kind of supplement the funding for getting certification for, phlebotomy or whatever medical field that you can. I mean, I don't want to promote any business here, but just for your information, Guam Medical Training Center down in, I think that's Chalanlalo. I think they're an approved service provider for the Department of Labor here in Region 9, so you can maybe negotiate with them how you guys can utilize their office and utilize Department of Labor's fundings for training to get them in. But I just want to say thank you for your presentation and for all the proactive initiative that you guys are taking. Everything that you guys are going through, I feel you. I was once in DPS, and I know, Mr. Seman, what you were saying about, these officers really need to have some time with their family just to have, mental wellness. And again, a lot of the community doesn't know what happens behind those walls, but obviously the community has been safe, and you guys have been doing a great job. So just please extend my appreciation to your staff, and again, thank you for coming. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman, for that feedback. We will be looking into the WIA program, and then also, so everyone knows, we're going to be leveraging that also as we move forward towards the
Academy, right?
the 11th Cycle Academy.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the resource.
Yeah.
I have secured 2 viable options here on the island, and I think we have 1 staff member signed up for phlebotomy in the next coming college course here on the island. But I appreciate outside resources. Thank you.
Thank you for that response, and thank you, Leader Ada. So, Commissioner, it seems like on your worksheet that you have a position for a physician that is actually occupied. So, this physician is actually a psychologist, or that's on board? Because, I know that Lieutenant Seman has stressed upon the stress level, right, for your men and women in correction, and there's really a need to kind of consult, of course, your staff, because, I could imagine PTSD is very potential in the department, and with that, is the physician actually
Thank you, Chairman. The physician is our general practitioner or a generalist or a hospitalist. He's not a psychiatrist, although we do have 2 counselors that that's available for staff as well. We also loan them out to DPS from time to time. But yes, that's another piece that we really need to focus on, and it's in the totality of the medical unit, right? And also the mental health for my mental health inmates. I need to dial in on that because we're not funded for a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? At the very minimum, a psychologist would be great, but we're exploring options with telehealth, right? We could perhaps utilize telehealth with the mainland, right? And then, because right now, we're taking them to the ER and then they go to the psychiatrist, I'll have Nurse Blue touch on that.
I can speak to that. We are partnered with CHTC. We see 3 psychiatrists through telehealth, and occasionally they do come and visit in person. But thank you for mentioning that, because out of the 90 patients that give medication, 44 of those are mental health. And unfortunately, our SI rate and breakdowns of mental health are a severe condition, so we do need better support. Our doc in-house is mostly medical.
Thank you. Yes, please proceed.
As for our employees as well, so if any of the officers come through the investigations unit and then we do identify that there's, some mental health that they're struggling with, we always make sure to either refer them to our counselors, and if they want further treatment, we actually communicate and collaborate with CGC, and we go from there, providing that then they provide their services to help our staff.
And that's something that we've always been on top of from day one with our SIS division. It's like when disciplinary paperwork comes through my desk, I'm like, I look at it and I review it and I have the conversation. We need to also refer this person. While they're also going through the investigation process, we're always referring, right? Because you never know, right? Nobody knows. So we refer, number one, so we can get them the attention that maybe some of the extra help that they need. But we start with our counselors, and then we branch off from there. I'm not just disciplining people, I'm not, and just so everyone's aware, I don't just, I don't take joy in terminating people, right? I want everybody to know that. But, since I've been there, it's close to 33 badges. And each one of them, I sit, I pray, and I look and I review, and I put God first in helping me make the decision, right? We go through the progressive discipline. I'm fair, firm, and consistent, right? But in the beginning, I shared that with everyone. If you know you're doing something wrong, you need to stop. If you're struggling with a substance use, come to me. Let's get you some help. Don't wait until it's too late, right? So, but yes, always moving forward, any person that's facing a disciplinary action, we get them referred, right? I exhaust that. So, just so everyone's aware and knows where I'm coming from as the commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Commissioner. And I know that you had expressed a lot of that concern in the previous budget hearings, and that you try your best to work with your staff, and you're giving it all you got to to make them if when they fall in the cracks, that they get back up, and do the right thing, and we are grateful for that. But let me just go back with the medical expenditures that the department are enduring. Are there instances that you guys have to have inmates medically referred outside the Commonwealth, and those costs associated to that, where are you getting the resources to pay that?
You wanna touch on that? Good. Go ahead. You touch on it. Good, man.
So normally for any off-island referrals, of course, the taxpayer covers the travel expense, and this can be either to Guam or Hawaii, and we also had a case where one has been sent off to California. with the, or for the billings, this is where we also seek the assistance through budget and Secretary of Finance, because some come back as, a really hefty bill. And aside from that, the travel expense is covered under this, our account, our revolving account. But the medical bills, we seek assistance for payment.
Thank you for that response. And just since you mentioned about revolving funds, it seems like you have just one revolving fund, Commissioner, and that's the DOC revolving fund. Is that correct?
We have two. We
Oh,
have that
two.
3022, which is from the federal reimbursements, and I believe we also use that for some of the outreach.
Okay.
That's transferred, that's journal transferred in there. The 6086 is our parole, from the parole fee.
Oh, the parole.
So technically now, we have two. Yeah, so we'd like to establish a third one if we were to do this corrections compact, if we did cross that bridge. But to kind of go back on the medical referral piece, I'm not sure if it was in the last budget hearing when I shared with you about me just pulling the trigger and saying, getting a team together and taking one of my inmates to Hawaii straight and put him straight to the ER. I'm not gonna wait for the medical referral program, and this guy's already been in pain for months before I got there. And it was, I'm not, number one, the humanity piece, right? This guy's been hurting for months. Number two, that's a deliberate indifference case, right? Say we went a month, 2 months further, right? That's a huge lawsuit. So I took it upon myself and I said, you know what, let's go. We took him to Hawaii, to Honolulu, straight to the ER, and brought him back. No complaints, no ER visits, nothing. We took care of it and we addressed it. We still have to pay that bill. It's a little bit of a bill, but so these are the things that we're kind of dealing with.
Thank you, Commissioner, for providing that services to that inmate. Are there any questions from other members of the committee? Let me go with under your presentation on the grants, right? There's 4 infrastructure grants, as you guys said. There's 1 rehabilitation grant. And what is a C and CB grant?
Capability and capacity, sir. So it's investing in training.
So that's
like the
strictly
train
on
the trainer.
Train the trainer.
Yeah, to help
Right.
ensure that we don't spend on training off-site when we can do it internally. So it's kind of like that investment on our personnel. Yeah.
And are all these grants annually, or they have a maturity date?
Just some, yeah, not all. It also, with with the current national situation, we're also still evaluating what might be affected, long term, or during this current administration, in the states.
Okay.
The CJ, the RSET grant is a formula grant through CJPA.
Okay.
it's
And that's
every-
annually, right?
yeah,
And it's-
annually
And it's
we apply.
competitive, right?
No, it's a formula grant.
Okay, so
it's
It's
just
based on
doing the paper,
population.
showing progress,
Yeah.
population, showing them what we're doing. I believe years ago we had one, and I don't know, it fell through the cracks. It wasn't being upkept, right? So I decided to revive it. We got it. We're gonna implement a robust system, and then again, that coupled with the Bureau of Justice Assistance Technical Assistance Grant,
right.
that's aiding us as well. But that's like a $30,000 TTA grant.
And if I may add, sir, being on board, I've learned as well that some of these justice grants require a certain amount of population in order to even apply. And so while our CNMI community has been fortunate that the range annually can be as low as 150, but as high as 200, depending.
Right.
Sometimes the 200 mark is the minimum requirement, and if we often average lower, we're not eligible. So we are trying to be, again, proactive by working with our delegate to advocate that there should be a better, like more, I know in the feds it's kind of a bad word, but there should be more equality in terms of or equity in terms of how territories with different population sizes can avail of these funds. But if we can't get that support in Congress, right, that's one of the benefits, again, of the interjurisdictional compact agreement is we don't have
Right.
to do 500, we don't have to have 500 inmates,
Right.
you know? We can limit it to 2 or 250 or 3 if that's all we can handle. But at least it opens the opportunity or doors to apply for more federal funds, because then we'll meet that literal first eligibility component, which is population.
Right.
And just to add, with what V just mentioned, our numbers don't meet the threshold for a lot of them. Because if our numbers met the threshold, we'd have a lot of the grants.
Yes.
And I'll tell you right now, we have. So what we did is, we're engaging with our delegate. We submitted a white paper, right, from DOC, just requesting some of these, seeing how our delegate could potentially advocate for some of them, right? To say, hey, maybe have a little exception for this small U.S. territory. Such as addressing structural limitations, federal tax incentives for hiring ex-offenders, federal partnership to house immigrant inmates from the mainland. And that's one I'll share with you, is I'm in conversations with ICE saying, hey, we have a federal contract. We're going to have to up this number, but why don't we take a look at maybe having CNMI as a hub for ICE inmates en route to Asia, right? That's federal monies coming in.
Right.
They were pretty keen to that idea. So that's a revenue generating source without the compact, because we hold ICE inmates,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So, we all know what's going on right now in this administration, right, in the U.S. So a lot of the prisons are crowded and packed, and they're charging up to $150
Yep.
per day. So, hey, and we're strategically located, right?
Right.
But yeah, those are some of the things that we're conversing.
Thank you for that efforts that you have been doing with our federal partners. Are there any SAMHSA grants related that the department is getting grants awards for? I see that you have a rehabilitation grant, right, awarded,
Which
And-
is the RSAT, yeah.
which is ARSA, and dedicated for rehabilitation
Yeah.
strictly, right?
For substance abuse.
Substance
Yeah.
abuse, okay.
We're hoping we could get more grants to expand our outreach, right?
Yeah,
Our
that would
farm
be
to
great.
table.
Yes,
Right?
and
Those are
there
the-
is
those-
such a grants out there, right?
We're looking, we're engaging. So hopefully, when we engage with Bureau of Justice Assistance, they'll be able, because from what the attorney Devon was mentioning, it's like, hey, these guys are going to be calling you because they love what you're doing, and that'll get us at the table to say, hey, can you help us with some of these grants to expand on?
Thank you for that response. I know that we're already heading into our 12 o'clock mark. Are there any questions from the members? Let me recognize Representative TJ Manglonia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions, and thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to commend you guys for all your hard work and putting together that very comprehensive presentation. Like my colleague Rep. Ada said, he pretty much addressed most of my questions and concerns, and just know that we hear you and we understand the hardships, and we're going to try our best to help address some of those shortfalls. And again, thank you for thinking outside the box and being proactive with a lot of the issues that you're facing, and also working with our delegate. I think that's one thing that all of our departments across the government need to hammer is these federal regulations that don't necessarily, or caps that don't necessarily apply to our small community. So
Exactly.
I thank you for taking that that proactive approach to work with Delegate Hines. So that is all. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman.
Thank you, Representative TJ Manglona. Any other members? If there's no further question, Commissioner Torres and your team, on behalf of this Standing Committee on Ways and Means, we extend our gratitude and appreciation for coming before us and having this open dialogue and talking about your requests, your budget requests, and also the governor's proposal. We do hear you guys deeply. I know that over the years, whatever is shortfall from the general budget bill appropriation for the fiscal year, we the SNIO body also try to fill in gaps through local appropriation, and we intend to continue that kind of support. I know we see, most especially your outreach program, doing an awesome job out there in the community, assisting even also other agencies, right, departments that are in need of help. And this collaborative work that we are seeing, the Department of Correction partnering up with other departments and agencies, is just very, very overwhelming to see, right? We want to build more bridges within all our departments as a central government, and we should continue doing that moving forward in the future. So with that, I'm going to give you back the floor, Commissioner, for any closing remarks before we adjourn.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you to this honorable body for your time and the opportunity to hear us, right? And I want to thank again from the bottom of my heart, right, to my staff, my team, my hardworking individuals, hardworking men and women of DOC, and also to all of you, right? Being forward-thinking, innovative, taking risk, being the men and the women in the arena. We got to move forward here. We got to start making this place better, and I'm doing everything I can from where I'm at in my official and personal capacity to make things better. And I want to thank again all of you and my team. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that closing remarks. And at this time, members, we move further down on our order of business, and that is item 6, announcement. And the chair will announce that we are going to continue our budget deliberation next week again, almost the whole week. And I'm sure I've sent already all the schedules of the call to each and every member, and so that we also announce that to our viewing public who are watching our budget hearing this morning. And so with that, we go now to our last order of business, which is item 7, which is adjournment. And at this time, the chair adjourns this budget hearing. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Thank you.